creative friends, it's Gwen with you today for another scrapbooking process video. This one is actually episode 1 in a new series I'm doing called Stash Bust Big Stuff, and it's all started with that piece of chipboard right there. I'm working with a couple of collections today, Crate Paper, Hello Love, as well as Heart Day. These are older collections, and so I'm digging into my stash. And I've got a bit of a plan. The main goal though is to use up that big piece, that big title element there. I'm on a mission to get some of these big elements used up and on my pages, and I thought I would take you along the journey with me. Maybe you'd like to play along too. I'm also using this cut file from Cut to You called Roses and Frames. So it's going to be a pretty central design, and you'll see all that come together as we go along. I've started with my background layout first. This is how I do like 90% of my pages. I like the border around the edge. I just find that it finishes off everything really nicely. So yeah, it's just kind of become one of my things. So to do that, I actually trim the centerpiece out of the cardstock there so we don't waste all of that inner part, and then I layer the other piece on top. Oh, now I've kept this in because I wanted to show you I actually only add the adhesive to one side first. I just find positioning it and getting it nice and centered much easier if there's only one side of adhesive on the go, and then add the rest once it's in position. So yep, here's my Roses and Frames cut file, and I wanted to use that lovely minty green for my leaves here. I've kept this footage in as well because I do get a lot of questions about how I back my cut files. So I thought I'd leave a little bit of this in. So essentially I just adhere the cut file to the pattern paper that I want to use, wait for it to dry, and then with my scissors cut it out. So those scissors are from EK Success, and the glue that I'm using is the Scotch Tacky Glue. It used to be called Quick Dry Adhesive, or was the other way around? One or the other. Yeah, but Scotch Tacky Glue in a fine liner bottle. I do have a video on my channel about how I cut files, so if you specifically looking for that information, you will see that I do have a video there, and I'll link it somehow. I don't know how to do that yet, but I'll see if I can't, link it for you so you can find that. Okay, so here's my plan. So I've got this picture of Caitlin, my daughter, yep, there's that large title piece. You can see how big it is. I need to measure it. It's big, 18 centimeters across. And it's chipboard, so it's it's got a very heavy kind of presence on the page. Because it's just really large and thick. So so I needed to get, the goal definitely was to get that positioned really early on. I have tried to add it to pages in the past, and it's just been too late, and it's just no chance. So so when I was planning out kind of my layout and my design, even my photo, to be honest, I really was working around that one piece of chipboard. It's going to feel so good to have it out of my box of chipboard pieces that I go rummaging through quite frequently. So that's sort of where we're going. I have backed my photo with some scrap piece paper, pattern paper. I think it's a Crate Paper one. I think all the paper I'm using today is. But as I said, it's all from my stash. So some of it's from like 2016, and I've really just, a lot of it I don't have. Often I keep the name of the manufacturers and the brands and stuff, but because this stuff's so old, it was just part of my bits and pieces that were floating around the studio. So yep, so I'm mounting my photo there. I've also added my signature stitching, which you can see, and that's going to go up in that corner. The foam tape, the foam there that you can see behind my photo, I use that's kids craft foam. I get mine from Spotlight in bulk. or you can buy it. My local sells it by the sheet. So yeah, have a look. I have seen two, and I cannot find it in Australia, where it's got the adhesive already on it. So if you know where you can get that and you're an Aussie, let me know, because I think once I've used up my stash, I wouldn't mind converting over to something that does already have the adhesive, because you can see, as you can see, I am fussy with the adhesive, and if it was already attached, that would be quite good. I think I would like that. So yep, there we go. That's that now all done. Yeah, so I've got so many big things in my stash here. I'm really excited for this sort of new series, and hopefully I can get some of those things just gone. We'll see, hey? We'll see how it all pans out. Now, at this stage, I was umming and ahhing about whether I wanted to back the roses. I really liked that geometric pattern paper, but as I said, I was working with scraps, so I actually only had those three pieces left that you see there, and they wouldn't fit if I had just glued the flower straight onto the pattern. I wouldn't have had enough paper. And then I was like, oh, I really want to use it, so how can I go about that? And the way around that is to cut them out separately. And so yes, it's going to take a fair bit longer than obviously gluing the whole rose down onto the pattern paper and cutting it out once. But I didn't have enough paper for that. And then as I got into this, I'm glad I went this way, because I then had a little bit more control over what colors went where and how it would look, you know, all up. So it was win-win. It did take a fair bit longer, because yeah, I had to do sort of petal by petal essentially. Okay, so that's all done, and I'm loving that. It's looking really, really good. So next I want to lock that into position. So that is going to be the bottom layer of the layout. And I'm fussy with this because if it's out, it will mess with everything. So you'll see I'm using my T-square ruler, and I do measure on the left and on the right, and that's just to make sure that that edge of the frame is the same distance from the edge on each side. I hope that makes sense, and that it's nice and square. I have mentioned this before, it's even though there's flowers, it's a geometric design because of those frames, and if it's out, you will know. Well, I will know anyway, and the devil's in the detail, right? I think. So it's important to get that right. Now, once I've got that all locked in, you'll see in a minute, I actually hold it into position because there's no adhesive behind there. There's no double-sided tape. So then to get that locked down, I actually then just add a couple of drops of this, my Scotch Quick Dry underneath, and it's enough to kind of just hold that where I want it to be. Triple checking. Yeah, nice and straight. And then once you've got kind of one edge down, you're right, then you can just do the rest. Yeah, so this one's going to stay nice and flat to my page. Sometimes I do, quite often actually, I put foam behind it, but I've already got foam on my photo, and the chipboard piece that we're using up is thick as well. So I just thought that's going to be too many, and going to end up too many layers on the page, and then it gets too hard to store it in an album, or even I actually don't store my layouts in albums. That's a story for another time. But even the way that I do store them, a really thick page like that's just too much. Yeah, so I'm just adding a little bit of glue to those frames, getting them stuck down so everything looks good. Positioning back the chipboard piece, and I think I'm finally going to stick down my photo. Maybe not. Oh no, that's right. Because the photo had foam behind it, it was slightly raised up just on that left hand side, so I needed to pop a little bit of foam on the right hand side of the chipboard piece so that it would sit flat. No, not flat, level. That's probably the better word. Nice and level. So I've done that there. Yeah. And now I'm just, it's funny because now all that effort that I went to put the cut file equally on the left and equally on the right, well, it's kind of skewed a bit now because of the placement of the chipboard word love, because it actually ends up more to the right, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, it was funny though because I was like, oh, I went to all that trouble and then I end up sort of covering it up anyway, so, but I didn't know that, so at the time. Yep, so there we go, lock that in and we're going to get started on embellishing. Okay, so it's the next morning and I've gone ahead and fussy cut out those florals, which I thought would be nice to use. And I've pulled a few things from my stash that I was really just looking for the color tones that would match what I had already. Lots of it comes from those same collections and bits and pieces that I have. But yeah, I was just really looking at colors, not sure where I was going to be going, but thought it's a great opportunity to use some things. I did want to kind of maybe, I was thinking about adding some more like layers of flowers. It's a bit of a fine edge though because all of that work that I did with the cut file, I don't really want to cover too much of that up. And I think I found a nice balance there. I'm just looking at the finished layout actually and what stays and what doesn't. It's quite funny. Yeah, so just really looking now at the middle kind of element. So I have mentioned before I work from my background towards the center and then from the top of my top layer of embellishments down towards the middle there. So obviously the word love there is going to form the very top layer. So I'm kind of just trying to fill in between that top layer and what's going to happen between there and the base. So I do fuss with the florals for a little while because they're nice and I don't not like them, but yeah, they don't end up staying because I think it ends up being a bit much. And like I was saying, I don't want to cover up too much of what I've got happening. You know, I just spent forever backing those flowers petal by petal, so all that work shouldn't get lost. Now these little clips, oh, I've had these in my stash for so long. They were a crepe paper. I want to say darling, something darling, years ago. Hello darling, I don't know, years ago. But they've been on those big pegs that you saw before and they're super thick. So I thought, you know what, I'm just chopping off the bow. I don't want the peg part, I just want that cute bow. And yes, one of them ends up on a page, which is good. Yep, and then that's another chipboard piece from that same collection, which that paper, that fussy cut paper, belongs to. See how it's the same floral. I do like this collection for like an old collection, so to speak, like 2016, I think. I still really love it. I don't know, I think I forgot that it was in my stash there. I forgot how pretty it was. So yep, that's a chipboard piece, and I find that chipboard flower there at the top does stay there, and I find that it's a really nice kind of, I want to say it looks like a medium-sized piece of chipboard. It is quite big, but compared to the size of the title there, it looks medium-sized, and it does help it to fit more in with the design of the page, I think. So I do like that there, and I like that it kind of adds another layer to the flower cluster of sorts. Yeah, so then there's some more chipboard pieces. Oh, I'm fussing with that because see how it's got that hole in it? Like I could maybe put a ribbon or something in there, but I'm like, I really want to cover that hole up, so we'll see where that ends up. And this cute little element says big smiles, and I'm really keen to use that because this was a photo that was taken the day that my daughter got her braces put on. So yeah, it was a big day. And we took before shots obviously and then after. So this is the after And then, yeah, she's getting closer now to getting them off. So I have to do another update with them, with her new smile. Yeah, so I do fuss with these in my usual way. I just, I end up settling on trying to balance out the, not heaviness, but the weight of the photo on the left there with something of interest on the right. And I do end up going with those little tags. I have so many of them too, actually. I need to work on a plan to use them up as well, because there's a lot of tags in this studio. But there's two's on the page. Yeah, and so I'm working on a little, so the two tags and then like a little cluster down in the bottom right there, and then we'll balance it out with something on the left as well. And then, yeah, like a little, so it's still rule of three, so there'll be a small, we'll end up with a small cluster at the top on the right hand side of the photo, like top right, and then we'll end up with another cluster on the left underneath the photo, and then the cluster with the tags, and that kind of, those 3 points will help draw the eye around the page. I've talked about this before too, like I love the rule of threes, but I work with that, but I also like my clusters to flow. I like them to draw the eye around the page rather than just leading it here, here, and here. Yeah, I like it more. I like it more to flow. And how cute is that swan? How could I not have used that swan in so long? I was probably hoarding it, going, oh, it's so pretty, I can't put it on a page. Well, today's the day that cute little swan gets put on a page. So that's a good sign. I'm gluing down the chipboard piece. Thank goodness the piece that started this whole thing actually ended up on the page. That would have been embarrassing, wouldn't it? Yes, yes, it would have been very embarrassing. All good. It's stuck down now. It's officially on. Yeah, so I am liking how this is coming together. Just digging through some more bits and pieces. That layered butterfly I've had in my stash for quite a while too, and it's also interestingly quite big. So I think I'm finding that using one larger thing is helping me to use up some of the other larger things, or maybe not quite so large, but 5 centimeters. So that's, it's a pretty wide butterfly. Yeah, because I do think that I was struggling with that large floral chipboard piece, but in relation to the title, it looks more medium sized. So yeah, I do think that that's helping me use up some of these larger elements. So yeah, so and that's that top cluster coming together. That little chipboard piece says big smiles, and I do like that. I think it really suits the photo. It's very cute. And it's got a little bit of gold on it, which also draws in the gold in that title. There's also a little bit of gold in the butterfly you can see there. And there's a little bit of gold in the tags, and also in one more element that's coming yet on the page. So I do also have a little play with these Puffy Hearts. Now those actually come in that big pack on a sheet of clear, like vellum, but clear, or acetate, I guess. And I physically cut them off there and then position them on my page with that, with the tape still behind them. I just find that for me, because I like to fuss so much with things, I can get them right into the position that I want and then remove them from the backing and glue them on. Yeah, I just find, and if I don't use them, well then I can just whack them back in the packet, and I'm not leaving like a bit of a sticky residue behind on my page. So I like to do that. Everything's got to be auditioned, right? Everything needs to be trialed, and we need to make sure that it's in the right position for our page. So yeah, just finishing, so doing like the big cluster on the right there with the tags, slightly smaller cluster underneath my photo to balance out that photo, and then the top one at the top, the smaller one at the top. Yeah, and everything's coming together really nicely. So yeah, I hope you like this new series. If you've got something big that you would like to for me to trial, or an idea for me to use, something in your stash that I might have, flick me a message, let me know, maybe in the comments, and I'll give it a go if I've got it. I know I've got some big cameras I want to try, maybe some other big floral elements. So yeah, let me know, and I'm keen to, yeah, get some more big things stash busted. I'll leave you some close-ups as well in a moment. And again, thanks for popping by the channel and watching my process and leaving your comments and stuff. It's been so nice, and I'm really thankful for it. So we'll see you next time. Bye.